landed in Brazil with just $5 and one mission. Find the 5 street foods every local says you have to try. Sounds easy, until every person I asked gave me the exact same warning. Whatever you do, don't spend all your money too early. Save room for the last one. That got me curious. What kind of street food makes an entire country agree? I only had $5, and I was about to find out. Brazil doesn't feel like a country you quietly explore. It grabs you the second you step outside. Music blasting from cafes, football shirts everywhere, smoke rising from food carts, vendors shouting over one another, people laughing in the streets. It feels like the whole country is celebrating something. And somewhere inside all of that were 5 foods I had to find before my $5 disappeared. $5, 5 stops, 1 challenge, but every local kept telling me the exact same thing. Don't leave before stop 5. Apparently, that's where Brazil hides its greatest street food. So I took a deep breath, put the $5 in my pocket, and started walking. I hadn't even walked 5 minutes before I noticed something strange. 1 tiny food cart, and a line of people waiting. Office workers, students, taxi drivers. Everybody wanted the same thing. I walked over and asked the vendor, "What's everyone waiting for?" He smiled, reached into the fryer, and handed me this, Coxinha. At first, it doesn't look like much, just a little golden teardrop. But the moment I broke it open, I understood why nobody was leaving that line. The outside was perfectly crispy. Inside, hot shredded chicken, creamy cheese, herbs, spices. Every bite somehow got better than the last. And then the vendor told me something that surprised me even more. We've been making these for generations. Coxinha isn't just a snack in Brazil, it's part of everyday life. People grab one before work, after school, during football matches, at birthday parties. You don't have to search for Coxinha in Brazil. Brazil finds you. Price? 75 cents. I looked down at my pocket. $5 had already become $4.25. And somehow, I already felt like I was winning. If Brazil's first street food was this good, what on earth were they saving for stop 5? I kept walking, still thinking about that first bite of Coxinha. If Brazil's most famous snack was that good, how was I supposed to stay under budget? Then something stopped me. Not a sign, not a crowd. The smell, sweet, smoky, buttery, drifting through the air. I turned the corner and found an old man standing behind a tiny charcoal grill, slowly turning rows of fresh corn over glowing hot coals. I'll be honest, I almost walked past. I mean, it's just corn, right? But then I looked around. Families were stopping, kids were begging their parents for one. People coming back from the beach grabbed one without even thinking. That's when I realized this wasn't just corn. The vendor brushed it with melted butter, sprinkled on just enough salt, then handed it to me while it was still steaming. The first bite completely surprised me. The outside had this smoky flavor from the charcoal, but inside it was unbelievably sweet and juicy. Simple, but somehow impossible to stop eating. The vendor laughed when I asked if he sold many of these. He pointed down the street and said, "Wait until Carnival." Apparently these grills never stop during festivals. Football matches, beaches, concerts. If Brazilians are outside, there's probably someone grilling Milho Verde nearby. Price? 75 cents. That brought my total to just $1.50, $3.50 left. 3 more foods to find. And somehow, every local was still telling me the same thing. You still haven't found the best one yet. Now I really needed to know what they were talking about. The streets were getting busier, the music was louder, and the sun was starting to go down. That's when Brazil completely changed. I didn't even have to look for the next food. The smoke found me first. Halfway down the street, I saw flames dancing over a charcoal grill. People were gathered all around it, laughing, talking, waiting patiently with cash already in their hands. I squeezed my way to the front and immediately understood why nobody was in a hurry to leave. Rows of sizzling meat skewers, dripping onto hot charcoal. Every few seconds, the vendor flipped another skewer and a cloud of smoky aroma filled the air. I asked him which one I should try. He didn't even hesitate. Espetinho. 1 bite, and I completely forgot I was trying to stay on budget. The guy standing next to me noticed the look on my face and started laughing. He said, "Now you understand why Brazilians eat these after football matches." He wasn't kidding. After concerts, after football, after work, Espetinho isn't just food. It's where people gather. 2 skewers, $1. I checked my pocket. $2.50 gone. Only $2.50 left. And somehow, everyone still insisted I hadn't reached the best food yet. At this point, I had to ask, seriously, what is this last food everyone keeps talking about? The vendor smiled, pointed farther down the street, and said, "You'll know it when you smell it." Now, I wasn't just hungry anymore, I was on a mission. By now, the Brazilian heat was starting to win. I'd eaten fried food, grilled meat, walked for what felt like miles, and I needed something cold. Then I heard it, a loud grinding noise. Not music, not traffic, a machine crushing thick green sugar cane stalks right in the middle of the street. People weren't just buying a drink, they were stopping to watch it being made. I'd never seen anything like it before. The vendor grabbed long pieces of fresh sugar cane, fed them into the rollers, and within seconds, bright golden juice started pouring straight into the glass. No powder, no syrup, no artificial flavors, just fresh sugar cane, squeezed right in front of me. Then he grabbed half a lime, squeezed it into the glass, gave it one quick stir, and handed it over. That first sip, ice cold, sweet, but not overwhelming. The lime balanced everything perfectly. After walking through Brazil's heat, it honestly tasted like the perfect reset button. I asked the vendor if people actually drink this every day. He laughed and pointed across the street. 3 more juice stalls. "Competition is everywhere," he said. "If your juice isn't fresh, people just walk to the next guy." Price, 75 cents. I counted what was left in my pocket. $3.25 spent, only $1.75 remaining. And suddenly, everything everyone had been telling me since I arrived started replaying in my head. Save room for the last one. Don't leave before stop 5. Every Brazilian grows up eating it. At this point, I wasn't just curious anymore. I had to find it. So I followed the busiest street in the market, looking for the one food that an entire country couldn't stop talking about. Then, I saw it. A tiny bakery, packed with people. Nobody was rushing, nobody was scrolling on their phones. Everyone was standing there, waiting for one thing to come out of the oven. Warm air rolled through the doorway, carrying the smell of fresh baked cheese bread. This had to be it. I walked inside and asked the woman behind the counter, "What's the one food every Brazilian grows up eating?" She smiled, didn't say a word, opened the oven, and handed me 3 small golden bread rolls. Pão de Queijo. I'll be honest, at first I didn't understand what all the hype was about. They looked so simple. Then I took one bite, and everything made sense. The outside had this light golden crust. The inside was soft, warm, unbelievably cheesy, and somehow chewy in a way I'd never experienced before. She explained that Pão de Queijo has been part of Brazilian life for generations. Kids eat it before school. Families serve it with coffee. Friends share it in the afternoon. It's not just another snack. It's part of growing up. That's when I finally understood why every single person I'd met told me to save room for the end. It wasn't because it was the most expensive. It wasn't because it was the biggest. It was because this tiny piece of cheese bread feels like home to millions of Brazilians. 3 pieces, 75 cents. I reached into my pocket and smiled. Exactly $5. Mission complete. So, was $5 enough? Today we found Coxinha, Milho Verde, Espetinho, fresh sugar cane juice, and finally, Pão de Queijo. 5 completely different foods. 5 completely different stories. One unforgettable day on the streets of Brazil, all for just $5. Before today, I thought Brazil was famous for football, beaches, and carnival. Now I know. One of the best ways to understand a country is simply to eat what the locals eat. Because every recipe, every family, every street vendor has a story. If you enjoyed coming on this adventure with me, hit subscribe because next week we're landing in another country with another $5 challenge. And trust me, if you thought Brazil surprised us, wait until you see where we're going next. Drop a comment below. Which country should we explore next? Until then, ciao Brazil.